But I was talking about it at a time when everyone thought I was crazy, like, or just no one cared. Literally, no one cared. No one listened.
Meet Hannah Campbell, founder of 112 Agency, one of the UK's leading voices in cultural and influencer marketing.
The director said, "Oh, that we have got a project that you can work on, and it's 20k." And for me, 20k, like we were dealing with like £2,000 and thinking we were doing stuff.
She dropped out of university, started and lost her first business, and then taught herself to sell her way back.
When I'm selling to corporates, oftentimes I'm giving them value long before I'm starting to talk about how I want to work together, right? So it might be, "Oh, I saw that you do this, like, oh, here's a resource. Oh, let me introduce you to someone that I know."
She started her new venture with a 5-figure brief, no company even registered. Today, 112 Agency works with the likes of Chivas Regal, Puma, Amazon Prime, and many more.
When people see a black founder and hear cultural anything, they assume that you only speak to black audiences or your campaigns are only for black audiences, right?
112 also manages a roster of founders, corporate leaders, and creators.
Realizing that you are of value to that person, because the thing is, a lot of people come in desperate or like meek and mild, like, "Oh, please, sir, can I have?" No. I've got something that you need. So even just believing that inside, you approach the conversation differently.
This is Invisible Mentors. Welcome to another episode of the Invisible Mentors podcast. My name is Javan.
And I'm Sanmi.
I'm one of the co-hosts for Invisible Mentors. Invisible Mentors, what is it? It's a platform which sees role models become real models. Via a series of conversations, we'll be looking to unpack and go into the granular details of the stories from prominent figures in the likes of sport, music, entertainment, business, and beyond. The aim is quite simple. We're attempting to bring down the barriers to information by making the unseen become visible and putting the unreachable within reach. That for us is Invisible Mentors. Sammy, we have our next mentor in the building.
Yes, we have our next invisible mentor in the building. Hannah Campbell, the founder of 112 Agency, cultural marketing agency. We're so excited to have you here. How you doing? You okay?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for having me as well.
Good.
Genuine pleasure. Welcome, Hannah. As you know, Visual Mentors, our conversations are really about exploring and unpacking your journey to where you are today. And in that journey, it's about assessing the highs, the lows, but we really try and unpack the pivot, the moment where you realize or it clicked in terms of what you're doing now and what you've grown in prominence to be known for. And around that is also assessing the external variables that kind of like contribute to who you are today. Before we jump into it, it just dawned on me, like, we're at the midway point of the year.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how quick it's flown by. I was going to ask, like, how has 2026 treated you so far, and what's been the highs and lows for Hannah personally?
Yeah, so 2026 has been good. I would say it's been busy, right? I know everyone says, "Oh, I'm so busy," but I think it's learning how to manage and how to juggle just how many things are happening. Because we're at a point now where I would say 112 Agency was a startup for the first few years, and now we're really heavily going into kind of scale up mode.
Okay.
And so that requires a different me. It requires a different kind of founder, because I think when you're a founder of a scrappy startup, you're just kind of hustling and trying to make things work. Whereas when you're scaling up, you have to put systems in place. You have to do all of this stuff. But obviously, there's still family life, and it's growing a team, and then managing more people. So this year has been a lot of lessons. So all of that, I would say, is the positive stuff. I would say the things that haven't been so easy are just the time management and just like, trying to ensure that I'm looking after myself, prioritizing my family, but then still focusing on scaling the business as well. It's been a bit of a struggle here and there.
Yeah, any thoughts on that? Obviously,
I mean,
given your remit.
Yeah, literally a lot of the same thing. I'm not necessarily on scale up mode with regards to my agency. I think it's just surviving because it's a busy year for us people. It's the World Cup year this year, and obviously I look after sports careers. But yeah, it's been good nonetheless. What about yourself?
Yes, I think so far it's been a year of like transition and change. But I think I say that it's been planned change. So it's almost like it was a realization of, all right, it was time for the next chapter in a few areas of my life. So when you put it on paper, you manifest it, put the small steps in place, and when it comes to fruition, it's like, wow, like we're here now. We're at this like next crossroads. So it's been a good year. And with that, it's like I'm excited for like what the foundations have laid for the first 6 months and the water you've consistently put on the seeds you planted, and looking forward to how they blossom
Lovely. I like that.
in H2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, excited.
Yeah, man. So, Hannah,
Mm-hmm.
love to start from the beginning. Great to understand like where you've come from. Like, how was home life for you back in the day, growing up as well?
Yeah, not too much from the back in the day. It was only the
Yeah.
other day, to be
It was
fair.
only the day.
Not that. Oh, no, I'm joking. I'm joking. So yeah, I grew up in Southeast London.
Yeah.
My have Jamaican like parentage. My
Okay.
parents are Jamaican. Grew up in Lewisham, Catford kind of area, so very South London.
Yeah.
And I think that did have like that is a big part of who I am to this day. I'm still in Southeast London. Can't get out of there. But I think that like when you grow up and you see certain things, like I have always been very ambitious. So there's certain things that I would see and I'm like, I need to get out. Like that can't be my life. I need to make a change. I need to get out of these circumstances. So that's been like where I come from has been a big driver for where like pushing me to get to where I want to be. But yeah, home life, very happy. You know, mum and dad. I've got an older sister as well, who's like 8 years older than me, and yeah, like really happy home life. I went to primary school in Catford. My grandma helped to raise me a lot as well, which is a big part of who I am. Like, she's 91 now, and I was with her today actually. She's amazing. Like, I credit a lot of what I've done and achieved to her. She still calls me like most weeks and asks like, "How's the business? How are you?" Like, you know, just she really understands me, I think. So yeah, she raised me a lot in my early years because my primary school was on the road she lived on, so I was basically at her house all the time. And then yeah. It's really strange because there was a bit of a juxtaposition from where I grew up to where I went to school for secondary school as well. So I went to like this really like posh private school. It wasn't really posh, but it was like a private school for secondary school, which was very different from how I'd grown up for the first 10 to 11 years of my life. And I think seeing that was a massive shift in my perspective. And I think it contributed a lot to how I then saw myself and how I saw the world. And then it just increased my ambitions.
Of course. Speaking to that point around you now transitioning to a private school setting, what was the dynamics like for you in that journey? And what version of Hannah showed up? And was it always the authentic Hannah?
Yeah. It was a strange one because there was no intention, there was no plan for me to go to a private school. My head teacher of the primary school I was at the time said to my mum, you know, Hannah's really smart. She can't go because I didn't get into any of the good schools in my area. So what was left, she was like, you can't send Hannah there. You can't do it, right? And so, because I think what they was worried about was that I would maybe fall in with the wrong crowd or like potential that I had would be missed. So I'm grateful to this day to that head teacher for taking my mum aside and having that conversation with her. So one day my mum came to me and said, right, we're applying for, you know, I've got you an exam at this school. Here's some books, study. And this was like the same week of the exam. The exam was on a Saturday morning. So I kind of was like, okay, I didn't really take it seriously. Went to the exam. And then my mum picked me up and she was like, how was it? And I was like, yeah, fine, whatever. And at that point, my mum thought that I didn't get in. She thought that I just fluked the exam right because I was just so laid back about it. So when I got offered the place, she was like shocked, like, what? You know, like you got in. So going to that school, I didn't want to go, firstly, because none of my friends were going there. Course, and I just thought, I'm a very working class background, and I was just like, going to go with all these posh people. And also, my primary school was predominantly black. And so I was like, I'm going to go with all these posh white people. I don't know how to be around these people. Like, what is that, you know? But when I went, it wasn't that bad. But what I did see was a lot of my friends' parents were very wealthy.
Okay.
Lots of, you know, big houses. You could see the wealth, right? And you could see how they lived life very differently to how we did. And I was like, but these people are no better than me or a lot of my friends from my area or my like, you know, there's nothing different about them apart from maybe access, money, you know, that kind of thing. So I was like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And from that moment, I applied myself in school, got straight A stars, 3 A's at A level. And I was like, if you can do it, I can do it, you know? And I think that was an eye opener for me. Like, I think being around that made me elevate, you know, myself as well and be like, like, you're not better than me. So, you know, yeah.
It's so funny because obviously we've had so many different conversations with different people on the podcast and
a lot from South.
A lot from South to be fair. Yeah. And one through line that I've seen is that like school times, primary, secondary school is really formative in how it shapes like people's mindsets and where they come from. So it's interesting as a father thinking about how I'm gonna apply that to like my son and stuff like that, innit? Do you know what I mean? It's super, super interesting.
I fully agree. Yeah. It's almost like it's the first environment you put a child in where it's almost like, well, I've done my bit now, so like you're in this care for the next couple of hours till you come back to me.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting where you're always gonna try and make sure that those hours of schooling are hopefully in the best environment possible.
Yeah.
And to your point, you probably realize how like the school you go to, the type of school,
the
then
friends,
attracts,
the access, like even things like work experience. I was able to access such great work experience because the parents all had such good jobs, right? So, and they were very happy for the children to do work experience in their places. So we all got like whatever work experience we wanted to. We had access to that work experience. And even my first business, one of my friends whose dad's like a multi-millionaire invested in my first business and it was just because I was in his daughter's class and we were friends. And he was like, I see your potential, I trust you, I'm going to invest in your business. And so it's that kind of access that you know. So when people do, and it's not to say, I don't think that you can definitely obviously be successful without going to a private school.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you should send your children to a private school or anything like that. But what I do think it did was it just altered my brain chemistry where I believed that I could see that, okay, if you can do this, I can do it too. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of things in life is you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah,
so again,
that's the thing.
putting you in that environment, it's like actually it's not as complicated
daunting
or daunting as I thought it was, in it. So that's probably what happened.
It's so eye-opening as well because one of my friends, she lived on Ian Wright's Road at the time in like Croydon, right? And his son had a sweet 16th birthday party, and they flew over Sean Kingston to sing at the sweet 16th birthday party. And just even like just being around that, I was just like, I was like, what? Yeah, 16, 15, 16. Yeah. So seeing that at the time, where I came from, like there would never be that. Even like my friend's house, she had her own wing. Like, you know, her own library, her own, she had like a reception room, her own bedroom, like her own bathroom. Like she had her whole wing, like which was probably the size of my house at the time, where I lived with my parents kind of thing, right? And so just seeing that kind of thing at such a young age, I think it was the age, seeing it, and I think that changed something in me.
Like, I love the way how you probably transitioned that to be a opportunity to motivate rather than to alienate yourself. Because I was going to ask you, it's funny because we've seen that duality play out in so many films where it's like you have that bright young boy, young girl who goes to that school outside of their local area, and it's such a clash of their home environment to their schooling environment. Yeah. At any point, did you have any like crisis of identity of like?
Not necessarily crisis of identity, but I did to a certain extent. So when I did first join, I got suspended in year 7, like in the first few weeks. It was a misunderstanding, but I do think there was a racial element to it. And that's when I realised that it was the first time where, because I was going to predominantly black primary school, all my friends were black, all of the parents around me, and I went to church, black church. So I was very much in black surroundings. So it was the first time where I felt misunderstood because of my race. So that was a challenge where I was like, I did question myself and like, oh, like, you know, my race is a thing, right? I didn't have that before. And that was at 11 years old. So that was interesting.
Eye-opening.
Yeah.
Oh, super interesting. So, obviously, gone to private school, university. What university did you go to?
So I went to the University of Birmingham and I studied French and German. And
interesting.
I mean, not French and German. At this point, it was law and French.
Okay, law and French.
Law and French.
Why did you pick those?
Because I'd always seen myself going to be a corporate lawyer. I just thought. And I thought I was going to be an international corporate lawyer, hence the French. And I love studying languages. I studied German and French at A-level. Wow. So I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna be a corporate lawyer. That's what I'm gonna do. So that was the way to do it. But then, so I didn't enjoy university. I didn't enjoy it at all. Yeah. When I'd gone to the private school, secondary school, what was great was that it was still quite close to my area, and I was still around like my area friends, and so I felt like a comfort in that. When I went to my university, the course I was on was quite elitist, right? There were only 15 people on the course. So even though there were a lot of people doing law, my specific strand of law, which was law and French, and it was French law, was very demanding. And there were only, there's only 15 of us on the course. And I didn't really make friends. My course was so demanding. I was always like studying. And I just didn't gel with anyone. So it was a very lonely time in my life. And then on top of that, my parents, I think they just used all their resources in sending me to a private school. They had no money to support me. But because the course was so demanding, we were told we weren't allowed to work. And so I literally couldn't afford I literally just couldn't afford to live. So I dropped out of uni because I just wasn't happy and I just couldn't afford to even eat. So I was like, I'm not doing that. So I moved back to London. And then that's when I started my first business, basically. Because I was like, well, I'm not just going to do nothing. Yeah. So I'm going to start a business.
What year did you leave uni?
Oh my gosh, this was like 2000 and...
Sorry, not the specific year, like, was it first year, second year?
It was partway through second year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So I think because your story to date just really breaks down like, obviously you're academically very gifted.
Yeah.
So like, was there an element of like how can this be the outcome where I'm like midway through my degree that I decided to exit?
No, I didn't feel like that, you know. I think when you're young, you could be quite naive. And I also think that, like, I think I was very confident. You know what? When you are like a straight A, straight R star student, right? And then I used to be an athlete. No, I say athlete. I use that very lightly. I used to run, and I used to run for my county, and I used to be very good at sport like netball. So I was very competitive, and so I think there's something in your mindset when you compete to a certain level, when you like I don't know, when you operate at a certain level,
Yeah.
you have a confidence. And so I had it in a confidence that whatever I put my hand to, I thought it was just going to succeed.
Okay.
Not necessarily that it's going to happen. It
Yeah.
didn't. Obviously, my first business didn't work out. But that naivety was there. And so when I dropped out of uni, I was like, it's absolutely fine. And also, if I knew that I could go back to uni
At any time.
at any time. And I did. I ended up going back to uni. I ended up getting a French and law degree, plus I got a French and German degree, then a separate law degree on top. So I ended up actually getting all the degrees I wanted.
You wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you talked about failing your first business.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first business? How did that begin?
Yeah, it was such a random one, right? So my now husband, we were together, and he works in like music production. And so I say now husband because we weren't married at the time. But yeah.
Okay.
So one day, this is so random, he had to fly to Sweden for work, but there was a production happening there's a guy called Vic Tizzle.
Yeah.
Vic Tizzle? Yeah. So Vic Tizzle, and it was him and another artist were putting on a show. I think it was their first show. And my husband was supposed to be the production manager, but he couldn't do it. So he was like, right, Hannah, like, you're going to be the production manager. And I was like, I know nothing. I think I was like 18, 19 at the time. No, yeah, like 18, 19. I was like, I don't know anything about this, right? So I did it, pulled it off, and it was amazing. It was so good. And so I got the bug for it. I was like, I love events. I love production. I want to do something more in this. So then I came up with the idea. It was called I Heart Fashion. And it was basically fashion. I put on fashion shows and fashion events to basically promote up and coming designers. So to give them a platform, to give them a stage.
Mm-hmm.
But what was different about our shows is that we had live music. So we had a live band playing whilst the models.
Okay.
But at the time, that wasn't really a done thing. And so, yeah, we got like performers. And I think back to that naivety thing again, I was just cold emailing people, and we got Selfridges to come down. We got Diesel to come down. And I was just literally like a, I don't know, 20-year-old or something, just emailing these people and saying, come to my fashion show. And there's a brand called House of Sunny that are quite well known now. At the time, they weren't very well known. And yeah, I think that was like one of his first fashion shows he did was on my stage at I Heart Fashion. So that was the first business. Unfortunately, as we started to grow, and this is where the naivety is not good for you, right? I had somebody promise to give like a few £1,000s as investment into the next show.
Okay.
So they were like,
so you done one show at this point
I did
now?
two.
2 shows, okay.
Yeah. So they said they were going to give investments. I was like, perfect, great. So they said, go harder with the production. So I was like, I got a lighting company, actually quite a well-known one who does like all of the big, arenas and stuff. But we got a good price from them. And, it was great, right? So we went through with it, we did it. And then this person pulled out their investment, but I'd already like done the show and committed to paying the lighting company. And so at the time, basically they were after their money and I didn't have the money to give them. And it was only £2,400, which I can say only now, but to like a 19, 20 or how old I was, that's crazy. Yeah, that was 100%. I didn't know. The letters were coming through the door and I wouldn't open them. I was just laying in bed. And then one day my mum came to me, she said, Hannah, you have to open these letters, you have to deal with it. You actually just have to face it head on. So I was like, okay, fine. So I called them and I made a payment plan. But I was like, how am I going to make the money to pay them? And that's when I got into sales. Because I thought, what can I do that's going to make me money quickly? And the only legit thing I could think of was to go into sales. And that's so my first job was at an estate agent. And I was selling. And that's where I learned the art of how to sell through that job.
So when you look at that journey from the first business, then transitioning to first sales job, it's like, what was Hannah learning at that point? Like, what did you recognize about yourself to be like, right, someone promised me X, it didn't come through. Mm-hmm. I'm now kind of like left in this hole. What was kind of like the vision moving forward? So you're in the sales job now. Is it just a case of, I want to clear this debt?
It was literally just to clear the debt. I had it was to clear the debt and then go in, either start the business again or get into a different business. Like I got the bug.
So the business entrepreneurial mindset was always there.
Yeah. But obviously you have to be realistic as well. And then at that point, because I always wanted to finish my degree, I'd gone back to uni, but I was doing part-time uni. And so and I didn't want to get into debt again. So I had to work so I could pay my uni in real time rather than get a student loan.
Yeah.
So then the sales job, once it paid off the debt, it was then paying for my my uni, for my degree, my first degree.
And that's you doing it again, right? Yeah, okay.
But that was me. I chose to do French and German rather than do law.
Yeah.
And then I did a law degree after.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think one thing that immediately spoke to me when I was assessing and looking at your journey is like you've almost, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I kind of feel like you've mastered the art of selling and sell, so to speak. So like you've gone now into the world of sales. What would you say is kind of like the uniqueness that makes you so good at that skill set, and how has that grown throughout your, I guess, corporate career when you've then gone into fintech and beyond?
I think although I had a really happy home life and that kind of thing, I had gone through quite a lot as a young person growing up. And so I think when you go through hard circumstances, it toughens you. In sales, you get a lot of no's. And I don't care. Like, I'm like, you can't do worse to me than what's happened to me, so I don't really care what you're going to do.
Okay.
Do you get what I mean?
That resilience was always there.
The resilience was always there. So I think with sales, one of the things you've got to realise is you can't take it personally and you have to just keep on knocking on the doors and you're going to get lots of no's. But that jubilation when you get that yes.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's so, and it's kind of like a drug, honestly.
Yeah,
it's like a drug.
Oh,
the dopamine is
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
And that's before TikTok. You know all these dopamine things we have now, yeah? That yes, when you're selling to someone, especially when you've worked hard, you've done the outreach, and you get that
Invested a
yes.
lot of time.
Oh my gosh, and that carried me. But yeah, I would say, what's your question again? Sorry, I'm just getting.
No, I was gonna say that when you look at the art of selling and sales, like if you had a formula that you can almost speak to of like how you portray your methods to like share, what has been the variables that make up your technique?
I would say one of the first things is like actually realizing that you are of value to that person, because the thing is a lot of people come in desperate or like meek and mild, like, oh please sir, can I have no, I've got something that you need. So even just believing that inside, you approach the conversation differently. You do. Like when someone sells to me and they're desperate, I can smell it from a mile off. Whereas if they're telling me there's something that they need, that I need, I'm like, oh my gosh, why do I not have this thing, right?
Yeah.
So I go in with you need what I've got. Like you actually need this thing. So that even I start there. And then when I have the conversation with them, I always let the person talk lots, ask lots of questions. I remember in one of my first sales job, we had training. They said, you've got 2 ears, 1 mouth, use it in that ratio. So you listen to the person a lot more than obviously you speak. And so asking probing questions, listening. And sometimes you haven't even said anything, but because the person's been able to get everything off their chest, they think they've had a great conversation with you.
Of course.
And then they're like, so what can I do for you kind of thing? And then by that point, you've got them. You basically just go in for the close, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say those are the things. And also just be like interesting, just be normal as well. Like a lot of the times, like you don't have to go over sell, just build rapport, like build relationship. Right? Another thing as well, one of my strong principles is it's not a smash and grab. It's very much about building relationship. It's very much about offering value to them, what you can give them. Oftentimes with a lot of the clients that the sales, when I'm selling to corporates, oftentimes I'm giving them value long before I'm starting to talk about how I want to work together, right?
Okay.
So it might be, oh, I saw that you do this, like, oh, here's a resource. Oh, well, let me introduce you to someone that I know. Building that rapport, being valuable to them, to the point where it would be bad mind if they then... Do you know what I mean?
Is that really? All this we've done together?
All I've done for you, you're now going to... But yeah, those are a few of my principles.
Yeah.
Super insightful.
Yeah, no, super insightful. And again, even me, like, I do a lot of selling, so like super interesting gems. So you worked in different sales jobs, right? What were the different jobs that you worked in, and what were the kind of sales that you was doing as well?
So after the like estate agency thing, then I went into like a nursing agency, and it was really random, but I was booking like carers and nurses to work at hospitals. But it was a sales job because we got commission, and it was like how quickly the shift came in, how quickly you can book a nurse onto that. So I was really good at that. So then they made me a supervisor, which was contentious because I was the youngest person in the office and I was like managing everyone. People didn't like it, but whatever. And then from there, I went to recruitment, which is, I think, where I got my best sales training. There is when I meet fellow recruiters who've moved out of recruitment and work in whatever running businesses, there is something so special. There is something so unique about how they sell. They're so ballsy. They're like audacious.
Mm.
They don't take no for an answer. They're not scared to hear a no either. And I think it's because recruitment is like, if to be able to be successful in recruitment, you have to be like good and resilient. So yeah, recruitment was a great training ground for me. Then from recruitment, I moved into tech. So I moved into fintech. I was in fintech for a while, and then I moved into like marketing tech.
Okay.
And then from marketing tech, then I moved into a marketing agency. But yeah, always selling, always like sales director jobs throughout those.
And when you eventually get to the point where you're in the marketing agency, where does the penny start to drop with regards to, all right, how does the entrepreneurial spirit start speaking to you again?
Yeah. So I always, people talk about entrepreneurs. Like I was always entrepreneurial in all my jobs, because I always saw, in recruitment, we called it like your desk kind of thing. Like, so in my sales job, I always saw like my desk, what I bring in and what I'm bringing to the business as like my mini business.
Okay.
So I was always treating it like it was my business, when I was bringing in sales and stuff like that. Unfortunately, when you're bringing in massive clients, but you're only getting a tiny percentage of the commission, right? Obviously, that's the way the job is made up. So firstly, I'm like, I'm only getting like a really small amount of what I'm bringing in, and I'm bringing in some massive clients to this agency, which is fine. That's the business model, right? Yeah. But I think the turning point for me was influencer marketing. This was 6 years ago or so, maybe 6 years ago. Influencer marketing was more established, but it was still quite new for most people, right? And I could see that cultural marketing and speaking to different groups within influencer marketing, not just your standard middle-class white person, was important. And I could see that most agencies, if not all, and most campaigns were missing the trick in speaking to different groups and speaking to different subcultures, and also ensuring that the campaigns represented people's real life lived experiences, as opposed to just plopping like a diverse person into a campaign at the end.
Yeah.
So my whole argument at the time was that strategy, inclusion and representation needs to be a part of the strategy from the get-go, not a random person you put in at the end of when the campaign's developed.
Yeah, as a bolt-on.
Yeah, as a bolt-on, because that person then stands out like a sore thumb, right? Because what the campaign you've put them into, naturally they wouldn't like maybe be in a pub if that was the campaign that was about, or they wouldn't be in a certain environment. Yeah. And so I was like banging on about this internally. It wasn't really landing. And so I was just like, you know what? And it was the 1st of December, 2021, hence the 112. It's like 112, 1st of December. 1st of December 2021, I was speaking to a colleague of mine. We went for coffee. And I just said, you know what? I've been thinking about doing my own agency. So I'm actually just going to do it. And that was the day that I was like, I'm doing it. That's how 112 started. And I always had that entrepreneurial, like I always wanted to go back to running business, but I didn't want to force it. And it just came very naturally.
I definitely want to unpack, I guess, the 112 journey, and then obviously how we speak into like the first client and how the ball got rolling. But just like unpacking this cultural marketing space, because quite timely, I saw Nike's advert dropped for the World Cup, and the amount of cultural references you saw in that, and where they're pulling from different parts of culture to feature in that. When we talk about cultural marketing, the word which comes to mind to me is like cultural currency. And I think that's what agencies, brands are always measuring as a metric, like how much cultural currency have we got? How do you approach doing it in the right way, so to speak? Because I feel like a lot of brands may see it as a bit of a bandwagon activity. They jump on it, put money behind it, and it's like, oh, we're part of culture now.
Yeah.
You and your agency, how have you kind of like rewrite the script, so to speak?
Yeah. So everything we do is based on data and insights. So we do a lot of research first into even like how this cultural phenomenon has become a thing.
Okay.
So we really get under the skin of it and understand it. Because I think in order for you to speak on it, you have to know it, you have to understand it. So a lot of it is that like data, insights, behavioral science, and actually looking into why people connect to this thing, why they have identity with this thing, and understanding where it comes from, so we can also pay homage to that thing. Because I think a lot of the time brands will jump on a trend or like, a cultural phenomenon and not understand the background of it, and then they get backlash or it doesn't land. They spend a lot of money on it. So we ensure that we understand where this thing has come from. Can we pay homage to it? Can we give value to that particular community if it comes from a community, and that kind of thing. But it's all based on data and insights.
Music to your ears.
Yeah.
Do you want to share more on that?
No, it's no, because obviously I just love I just love consuming information and stuff like that. So that's why I said the data stuff. So even onto that, how are you getting your data? Is it that are you like buying specific reports on a specific field that is relevant to a campaign that you're doing? Are you speaking to people that are cultural tastemakers that have a real good insight to that? How do you kind of
different things? So depends on the project. So there was a project we did for Arsenal and Chivas Regal. That was
Arsenal.
Oh gosh, I'm a Man United fan.
Lucky I was with my Arsenal talk today, you know.
Really?
I said,
you guys have celebrated enough now.
22 years is a long time.
No, I rate it. I do. I'm happy for you guys. I'm in North London, so that's good. Okay. But what I was saying is, so basically Chivas Regal were creating, it was a new partnership, and they, were with Arsenal, and so we went and spoke to lots of cultural tastemakers within like the football, fashion, music space to find out like what that partnership for. They were like creating a new box in the
I've walked past it sometimes. It's always every time I walk past it, DJs. But it's like a party. I'm just like, I want to go in there.
After the game, it's like everyone has to leave, and I'm like, but these lot are just getting started.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It is. I used to go to it a lot at the Man United when they were at Man United at Old Trafford.
Okay.
But so we did questionnaires to cultural tastemakers to be like, what should this space feel like? And also like we spoke to a lot of Arsenal fans, right? Because it's like, what elements of the club should we bring into the space? And so that was really interesting. So yes, to your point, speaking to cultural tastemakers, sometimes we work with behavioural scientists. So we had a brief recently around migration and around climate action. And so we needed to speak to behavioural, and it was about shifting perceptions around these things. And so we spoke to behavioural scientists around how do people think about these things? Where do they get their information from? And how can we influence how they think about these things? But it's a science to it, right? So you have to kind of delve into the data around that. So, and then sometimes it is just desk research. It just depends on what it is. Sometimes it's questionnaires, but it does depend on the project. But yeah, like the research is very important to us, and we do that at the start of every single one of our campaigns.
It's super interesting again because like I'm fairly new. I am actually fairly new into the like whole advertising marketing space. Being a talent manager, I've been in it for 3 years. So like understanding, and I didn't study like marketing per se in uni and stuff. So like understanding the different stages of all of these different things has been super insightful and helpful. So that's why I just wanted to ask that question from an agency point of view on how it kind of starts basically. So yeah, super interesting.
On your mention of Chivas Regal's, correct me if I'm wrong, but was that technically your first client?
It was our first like global massive client.
Okay.
So when we first started the agency, like we had a few, and I'm thankful for them because they helped us a lot. But we had a few small clients, right? So we had like friends or family type, like.
Okay.
So it's like they were spending maybe $2,000 a time, $5,000 a time. They weren't big budgets and they weren't big agents. So we were just kind of helping them and working with them. And then, but there was no established business or anything like that. So I met through somebody. I met somebody who works at Chivas Regal in Shoreditch House, and we were like just chatting and getting along. And I started telling her about always on influencer marketing and how important I think it is for a brand to work with creators over a longer term rather than one-off campaigns. So this was like 5 years ago, right? Or 4 years ago. And she was so impressed by that because I think at that point, people weren't really speaking about always on influencer marketing. They weren't speaking about long-term collaborations with influencers. Of course, you've got the celebrity ambassadorships and endorsements, but influencers having an always on program, it wasn't really what people were doing at the time. So she was like, I'm going to come to our offices, like share what you do, and then I'm going to introduce you to my manager. And so her manager was the director of, so at the time they were called like Cultural Conversations Team. So she was the director of that team. So
inside Chivas they had a cultural conversations team.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So then they're the global team. Yeah. So then I was like, okay, fine. So we went in.
Are you in pitch mode at this point?
Yeah. We went in and pitched, and I just was like, oh, you just don't think anything's gonna come of it, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like,
but the experience would be great nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay, we're gonna build up our, and get there.
Yeah.
But I didn't think necessarily anything was gonna come of it. So when we were sitting in the room, the director said, "Oh, we have got a project that you can work on, and it's 20K." And for me, 20k. Like
Bruh.
we were dealing with like £2,000 and thinking we were doing stuff.
Yeah.
So 20k was like, wow.
Yeah.
We've got a 20k deal. What are we gonna do? How are we even gonna spend the money? It's so much money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, crazy.
Yeah.
Like looking back, it's like crazy. But yeah, so that really launched. That was a massive launch pad for us. So
course.
the campaign was really interesting. It was basically they had a series called The Rise, which was like a long form kind of like interview series.
Was Steph London and one?
Yeah, so
Ah,
she was.
yes,
That's the one I
remember
was,
that.
because there were a few, but that one Steph London was on. Also, Be Young, Dumi.
Okay.
There were a few like headline people who had been interviewed about. It was called The Rise. And it was kind of like self-made people, but also they bring along their people with them, and like it was. Yeah, it was a great content series. But the brief was to basically get people in culture to speak about it, to drive people to their YouTube channel to then watch the series.
Okay.
And so we were like, okay, what would make sense? Because where can we get people to talk about this? Podcasts. So we worked with HC Pod, Madam Joyce. She was still quite early at the time because this was 4 years ago. There was another podcast called Milf and Honey. They're no longer around, but they were like doing bits at the time. And there were a couple of other podcasts. So that was our first real big campaign where we basically briefed the podcasters to speak about the episode. And that drove people to the episode. And the uplift was amazing. Like you could see people in the comments being like, I've come here from Madam Joyce's podcast. I've come here from XY person's podcast. And so we were like, oh my gosh, it's actually working.
Yeah.
Like we can actually do this thing,
this
right?
thing, yeah.
But what was so funny is when that day when we were sitting in the office and they were like, oh yeah, we've got 20k, we've got a brief for you. There was no limited company. There was no business bank account.
No way.
There was no like logo. There was nothing. And so obviously this Pernod Ricard, they're like a global company. Like their PSL, you need to give the PSL, their preferred supplier list.
Yeah.
You need to give them all this information. So on the 4th of the 4th, 2022, that's the day we got incorporated the business, opened a business bank account, like did everything as quickly as possible. And then I was thinking, oh my gosh, hopefully they don't look at our like incorporation certificate and see.
I think it's so much you can do the maths thinking,
Yeah.
this day, this is all this stuff.
Yeah. And at the time we couldn't, I think it was harder to open like a good bank account.
Yeah.
So we had any online bank account.
Yeah.
It wasn't, because it was before like Monzo, Tide,
Monzo,
released
Tide,
it.
yeah,
So
Revolut,
it was
all
just
these-
any bank account. I was like, how are they going to take it? But it
So
worked.
at this point, is there any kind of element of like, you want to be like, we can't do this, like, because you almost, from what you detailed, were kind of like not been established to put yourself in a position for this conversation to then go away and deliver on the work itself.
Yeah.
Did anything pass mind of thinking like, we're gonna take these people money and
I know, yeah.
how are we even gonna even deliver on this?
No, of course, because I'm like, because as well, like I'm really giving myself away now, but I had never worked in a campaign end to end. You've got to think about the fact I was a salesperson, so I was the one who brought the client in.
Oh,
did the
so at this
initial
point now
pitch.
it's like,
So now I've got to do the actual work.
you're looking around.
Like I've got to actually
Interesting. Yeah.
execute. I've never done that before. Like, what do you mean? So I was learning on the job as to how to execute the thing, right? So yeah, there was that doubt of like, are we even going to deliver? So when the results did come in and the return on investment for the brand was so good, that was obviously a relief. First and foremost. Yeah, first and foremost. But it also was like a proof, like it was like, a point of proof to be like, okay, we've got something here.
Just still staying on this because this is super interesting. It's so funny that I get yours basically business development, getting the clients in, and like your team would be able to do activating it. All right, so how did you come up with the idea? What made you think about getting podcasters, and how did you learn on the job? Were you reading stuff about? Was you on Google saying how to activate a campaign? Like, what was your learning on that first campaign?
What when I was working at the influencer marketing agency, I did ask to be more involved in campaigns, because the thing is that when you bring a client in, you've built, as I spoke about relationship, to bring in big clients, you're working them for a good few months. So you build a rapport, you've had a number of calls with them, you're on that first pitch with them, or that first kind of proposal call. And you really understand the client and you understand their pain points, right? So I was saying to my boss at the time, like, please let me. And she said to me, you're not a trained marketer, so like you can't get involved. Like, just do what you're good at, kind of thing. So okay, I bring the money in, that's fine. I know where I stand. But that made me actually. So even whilst I was in that job, that made me very, very interested in following how a campaign happens. And also I was looking at how we were doing it internally. But then also I was teaching myself, doing reading. Like, you have like Google alerts around what's happening around influencer marketing. So I was actively learning anyway how to do a campaign. And then so when it came, so I did have a co-founder at the time when I first started 112 Agency. So my co-founder was a strategy director at our last business. So we both left together. And so she had worked more on campaigns. So she knew more like how to go through a full campaign. So together we kind of thrashed out that first campaign. And because she was a strategy director, she had great, she was a strategist, right? So that podcast thing, that we kind of did research into it, and it just made sense to do that.
Yeah.
As well, huge milestone that you're working with a brand of that stature. Was there any like eye-opening lessons? Don't want to brand title it as challenges or issues, but like where the things where you're like, all right, I'm in a different ball game now. Like the way they're talking, the way they're walking, the way they operate is different.
Yeah, there are certain things, just even like abbreviations that they use, and you don't want to seem amateur, so you're just I don't know what you're talking about right now, but I'm gonna like go back afterwards and check. So like now I just ask because I'm confident enough to do that, and I feel like I'm established enough to be like, what does X, Y, and Z mean, right? But at the time I didn't know half of what they were talking about, and there is a certain way that marketers talk. Like there's marketing
Jargon,
lingo. There is jargon that I just didn't always get. I had to very quickly understand even things like awareness. What's the difference between an awareness campaign, a conversion campaign, that kind of thing. I didn't really know the differences between all of those kind of things. So I was really learning on the job with a lot of that stuff. So yeah, I would say that was kind of a challenge. The other thing as well, and this is across the board with big companies, right? It's just payment terms can be a little bit of a sticky point. It can be a struggle. And so working to like 60-day payment terms, but then they don't get paid at 60 days. And then, and just stuff like that.
Yeah.
That in the early days, working with big clients was a bit of an eye-opening thing, how to manage cash flow. Yeah. That was a bit of a struggle.
So, your mother?
I am a mother.
We are fathers.
Indeed.
I didn't know you had children.
Yes, 9 months old.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you. So, yeah, you know what that looks like.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
I won't be able to speak to.
It's actually quite a while away now, so actually I've kind of forgotten. To be fair.
Yeah, right.
But no,
yeah, no. So I was just gonna say, how was being a parent impacted like the career and stuff like that? I know for me, it was one of the most pivotal things because I left after my paternity leave. Do you know what I mean? So how did that having a child like impact your career?
Yeah, so part of do you know what? I think that everything happens for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Like if I didn't have her, I wouldn't be in marketing. So basically when I was working in tech, it was before COVID. And my daughter was born in 2018, so it was before COVID, right? So when I was working in tech, what's the thing called? The hours were long. It wasn't easy to kind of come back to work and have like flexible hours at the time. It just wasn't really a thing. So I actively moved into marketing because I was looking for a job. There was a website at the time called workingmums.com. And so I looked on that website and they have like part-time flexi jobs, but still, senior, still, So I found like a new business manager role at a marketing agency on there, and it was like 4 days a week, but it was flexi. And so I decided to go into that because my daughter was young and I still wanted to be very much around while she was young. So that was the first thing, like I changed the job and changed my hours so that I could be around her more. But that is the reason why I got into marketing. So I'm very grateful that she was born. But what it did do for me when I set up my business was it enabled me to know how precious time is, in the sense of like I don't have time to mess around.
No.
I'm very strict with my time. And but it also makes me a lot more productive because on the days where I have to drop her to school and pick her up from school, I've literally got 6 hours.
That's the window.
That's the window. And once 3 o'clock comes, and have to leave at like 2:30 to get her for 3 o'clock or whatever it may be. That's my working day done until she goes to bed, right? But that's my working day done while everyone else is awake. So it's working. So when people say close of business, I've got to make sure all my stuff is done by 2:30. And so I have to be so strict with my time so that when I switch off during the evenings to spend time with her, I'm with her and not thinking about it. And I have to say I'm not always present because it is difficult. I can't always be present. There's things that I need to respond to, or there's last minute deadlines and that kind of thing. But for as much as I can be present, doing her homework with her, having dinner with her, or bath time, bedtime, story reading, all that kind of stuff. And then once she's in bed, I'll then get my laptop back out again and then work until like midnight or whatever it may be, and then start the next day. So I mean, there is a balance, right? There are trade-offs. But I wouldn't have it any other way. Like my daughter comes to my office, she's so proud. She's honestly so proud. She said when she gets older, she's going to run an agency called 113 Agency.
Oh, I love that,
she's just,
man.
she's super proud that, you know, I've got 112 Agency that, you know.
And obviously, like, her mum is working on some really cool stuff.
Yeah, you know what's really funny? We did a campaign with Ashley Banjo, and she watches
Yeah.
a program, like a children's program on Netflix with Ashley Banjo. And so she went to school and told everyone, like, you know, the program we all love. My mum works with Ashley Banjo, so she loves the fact that, you know, she's of the age. She's 7 now, so she's of the age where she can, like, understand.
Piece it together.
Yeah, piece it together. Yeah. So, and I think the thing is that when I grew up, my mum worked in corporate, and she works for it was corporate for like the local council, but she had like quite a high like ranking job, right? And I remember being in primary school, and so I went to school in Catford, and the town hall where she worked was in Catford as well. So after school, when I was old enough, like year 5, year 6, I used to walk to her office with my friends, and she used to have like her own corner office, and I used to feel so proud walking in, and it's like my mum is like the boss of this place, and I think that you wasn't the boss of the whole place. It was like a very small segment, but at the same time, like for me, it's like my mum's a boss, right?
Of course.
And I think growing up and having that example of my mum, who's a woman and a black woman, and you didn't see many black women. We're going back like 20 something years. You didn't see many black women in these kind of spaces. So I was really proud of my mum, and I think seeing that helps me to be like, I can do it. So I'm hoping that if my daughter does have those ambitions, if she doesn't, absolutely fine. But if she does have, then hopefully she has a good role model to see it as well.
I can imagine Hannah and her friends rolling through town hall like, my mum's office over there. So if you excuse us, please.
Literally, when the security was there, I was like, no, well, I can be here.
But if you were to like, not the word advice, but if you could speak to what's worked well for you in terms of the duality of being a very present mum, but also being a thriving businesswoman at the same time, how would you encapsulate a way to make the two coexist?
Yeah. So you can't be an island and you can't do it by yourself. Like I rely heavily on people around me. Thankfully, my husband is like great. So he does a lot of stuff. So I've had a very busy period for the last 6 months. My husband usually travels a lot for work. He hasn't traveled for work. He's been around more. And that's been an active decision for him to be around more so that I can really buckle down and excel in my space. So I'm very grateful for that. And so, he does a lot. My mum and dad are very present. Like my daughter is with them now. And, you know, she's with them often in the evenings. They'll pick her up from school. I'm about to go into a very busy period. And so my sister is coming to stay with me because my husband's away. So she's staying with us for a few weeks to help with my daughter. So I do, like, you do have to rely on the people around you.
Bring in the village,
You have to bring in the village. Like you can't, I mean, maybe some people can, but for me personally, I couldn't do it by myself. And one thing I did realize, and this is something that I said to my husband, when he was away a lot, and when I was solo parenting, like, and trying to manage the business and look after my daughter, my revenues cut in half, literal half.
Okay.
It was also at the point where she was starting school. So, you know, nursery hours are longer. Nursery is 8 till 6. She was at school from 8:30 till 3. And so that change cut my revenue in half. And I was like, this is having too much of an impact on the growth of this business. And so I was like, we need to find a way to make this work. Yeah.
Why
it's affecting the money now.
I know what. I know your time decreased. What is it that cut your revenue in half? Is it that it was just you and your co-founder at the time just working on the business? So it was literally just you two. So you didn't have any other stuff?
Yeah, so because we're so busy executing, I can't go and sell. And that pipeline is so important, right? You might have deals now, but those deals are going to finish, you know, so you need to always have pipeline. You always need to have leads, like constant leads and constant conversations at different points of the sales journey. And so there just weren't any leads. So that means obviously less business, less money. So,
No, super interesting. I want to get back to 112 and kind of scaling the business and how that's grown. So talk about your first hires, you getting more clients as well. How did that kind of materialize?
So I think what's been really interesting, and it's a bit of a juxtaposition from the fact that I am a salesperson, but a lot of how we got our first clients was a network, and it was meeting people. I was out a lot, and just by meeting people, talking to them, telling them what we do, they may not have been a decision maker, but they would go to somebody else and be like, oh, I know someone who does this. So we got a lot of recommendations in the early days. I think having that Shivers Regal case study, because we didn't just do that, we worked with them a lot over the next 2 years. So we had constant case studies. We were putting work out, showing that, you know, we were working. It then extended to working. So we did that campaign, then it extended to working on their partnership with Man United. And so we were doing a lot of work around like talent around that.
Okay.
So that very much, the case studies around that helped. You know, when you're working with such two big brands like Man United and Chivas Regal, it's like, okay, who are these people?
Yeah.
We need to like, you know, and so yeah, so that helped a lot. So yeah, it was the new clients was a lot through word of mouth and just being out and networking. And networking, I think, to this day is still probably our biggest like lead gen.
Yep.
And then in terms of staff, we got our first hire within like a year, I think, of the business. And then it was just the three of us for like a while. And then we started to grow. But our team was always around 3 or 4 for the first 3 years.
Okay.
So it was, and I always wanted to keep the team lean
Okay.
because I was happy. And also my view was I need to do all of the jobs to know how to manage people kind of thing.
Eventually.
I wanted to know every facet of the business. So I was happy to do everything, right? But then it got to the point where I can no longer do everything. And that's when now we're like recruiting and like scaling quite a lot.
As much as well, obviously, you're defo, and correct me if I'm wrong, but speaking to element of like, you're building the plane as you're flying it.
Yeah,
so to speak.
100%.
At this stage, and obviously keeping true to the platform, are there any individuals who you're tapping into as mentors, as like, you've done it before me, let me know how it works here? Like, where was like your refuge point of like, all right, let me kind of like get solace from this person in regards to where we're at and where I want to go to next?
Yeah. So what's interesting is I haven't had any like mentors in the sense of like you're the mentor, I'm the mentee.
Okay.
But what I have had, which I'm really, really grateful for, is like people who are doing this as well. And so we are kind of mentoring each other. So I have a lot of friends now. And one of the things I'm most grateful for in this business is the relationships and friends I've now got. Honestly, I've got like the best group of friends who all run their own agencies, who all like are competitors, so to speak, right? But we all just help each other. We just, you know, support each other. So, yeah, there's so many that I've got. Like, there's people who, like, run their own agency. So, for example, there's people like Kajovi. There's people,
Kajovi.
you know, Kajovi. There's I've got a friend called Charlotte who runs Reach Talent Agency. Alicia, who runs Black Crate Connect and Crate Connect, is doing a lot in that space. And I would say, and like there's Shireen. I don't want to say lots of names because I don't want to miss everyone. Like, but there's so many people. There's like Jess from season 25. There's so many people who we can kind of just be like, oh, how do you do that? How do you? Oh, I have to mention Cam, who founded Black Comms Network, and also who founded Colder, the agency, the PR communications agency. I have looked up to her. I think if there's anyone who I've looked up to in terms of like you've set up a successful agency, because she also is a Black woman, she's Jamaican, so I feel like I can see a lot of myself in her. And so, yeah, like even from afar, I look at her and I'm like, what you've done is incredible. If you can do it, like I can do it too. Like you kind of set that pace. And to the point of Black Comms Network, they're like a network for like Black communications professionals, right? And that network has allowed me to meet so many people who are also, you know, building agencies, you know, running their businesses. And I think it's that thing, it's that community, it's that knowing that you're not alone, it's that knowing that there's people you can reach out to who may have had that experience already. So, for example, a recent thing that I had was I'm recruiting for new talent managers, right? I'm like, okay, where do I actually put the salary band in for this? How do I actually do the commission? How do I ensure that people are incentivized, but I'm still making profit? You know? And so I just reached out to one of my talent agency owner friends and was like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'll just send you my full commission scheme so you can see it, you know? And just being able to have those conversations. Even somebody else was like, I was like, okay, staff expenses. I want to give my team the ability to obviously expense and that kind of stuff, but there needs to be policies and procedures around that. She was like, yeah, I'll just give you my expenses, policies and procedures, you know, just stuff like that. I've had somebody else ask me like, can I have a contract? So I'm like, yeah, this is our contract. This is how we do things. So it's just having that. I think having those mentors around me has been great.
Yeah,
no. So it was like the concept of like finding your tribe, right?
Yeah. And I think it's so important because as well, I feel like our industry is really cool for that because again, I've made a lot of friends, even you. We're in the same industry as well. Like, I've met a lot of people where I lean on them. How do you do this? Maybe they've got like a 20-person agency, so I'm trying to understand. So I feel like it's the peer-to-peer mentorship is like massive. so golden. Yeah, man.
So looking at 112 where we are presently, one thing you spoke to, which is quite interesting, is the reference of, I guess, the influence of Black prominence with regards to the tribe,
Mhm.
and then that shows up in who you lean into.
Mhm.
As you've evolved the agency, has that kind of been really part of the identity, or has that been a bit of an obstacle, or have you now created something where it's like you can capture speaking to the community you are a part of, also you don't stifle the business growth at the same time? How has that journey been?
It's a journey we're still on, and we're still figuring it out. So because when people see a Black founder and hear cultural anything,
Yeah.
they assume that you only speak to Black audiences, or your campaigns are only for Black audiences, right? But that's never been the case. Like, my co-founder is Indian. She's not a part of the business anymore, but she's Indian. It was never about just speaking to Black people. It was about speaking to different groups. Didn't matter, where they're from. I've had a situation where I was speaking to a marketing director at a publishing house, and he said to me, if we have any Black campaigns, or if we have any Black authors, we'll call you. And I was like, no, like, you're missing the point. We don't just work with Black people. Like, what even made you? Because our case studies, if you actually look at our case studies, none of them have been Black specific. I've actually never worked on a case study to reach out just to Black audiences, like a brief.
Yeah.
Our clients are, Shivers Regals, everyone. Our clients are, HubSpot,
Yeah.
like, things like that. So I did write a piece for Campaign. I think it was for Campaign magazine a couple of years ago around being pigeonholed. And it was like, actually, it can be difficult if you speak to, say, like, you do cultural marketing, or if you're a Black founder, or wherever you're from, you can get pigeonholed. And so you have to ensure your strategy speaks to not being pigeonholed. But of course, it's not like my identity, my community is still a big part of what I do, right? But I don't want to be pigeonholed into being like, we're a Black agency, because we're not. We're a culture-led influencer marketing talent management agency. We didn't say anything about Black only,
Yeah.
And it's not anywhere on any of anything we speak about, any of our literature. It's not there. It's just an assumption. Yeah.
So you just said talent management.
Yeah.
You started out as a marketing agency. Now you look after talent. When did that begin to come into fruition?
Yeah.
Is that a choice that you made intentionally?
Yeah.
Or is it something that kind of just happened?
Yeah. So when we were doing the influencer marketing campaigns, we were working with lots of different talent, right? And we started to be asked by those talent for us to manage them. And we were like, we don't manage talent. That's not our business model. It's not what we do. It's not where our interests lie. We don't manage talent. So for the first year, we were being asked a lot to be for talent were asking us to manage them. So after a while, we were like, okay, do you know what? Maybe let's just give this thing a go, because there must be a reason why they're asking us, and there must be a gap. There must be something, right? Yeah. And so I think looking back now, I think it was a few reasons. I think firstly, when people worked with us, they enjoyed it. We paid people well. We paid them on time. And we treated them well. We briefed people well, all that kind of stuff. So I think they enjoyed the experience of working with us. I also think the initial people who were coming to ask us were Black. And I think the reason why they were coming is because there weren't many talent agents at the time who maybe they felt that they could be themselves with. I think some people have been burnt at other places, or they maybe felt like they couldn't be understood by their talent agent or their manager. So they wanted to come, maybe, I think, to someone who maybe could understand them a little bit more. So yeah, we started with like a few, like maybe 2 and then 3, and we grew the roster really slowly. It wasn't intentional until it was. But we weren't actively going out and finding talent. If talent came to us and asked us to manage them, we would then assess them, vet them, and decide whether we wanted to take them on or not. But we never, until very, very recently, have actually gone out and been like, we want that person. We're gonna manage them. Yeah.
And if you were to like share through the names of the talent on the books.
Yeah, so we kind of have 2 sides of our business now, and this has organically happened, but we've got what we call like consumer entertainment talent. So we've got Matthew Bridgman, who is a fitness and comedy creator. He has been with us for about 6 months, and he's grown so quickly in that time. We've got Joa Brown. So Joa Brown, she makes like funny. She's like a comedy and lifestyle creator. Okay. She leans on one of her well-known characters is Auntie Patricia, who's like a Ghanaian auntie.
Oh, okay.
It's very funny. The character's very funny.
Very funny.
Yeah. So we have a handful of creators in that space, the kind of entertainment, lifestyle, consumer space. But the side of our business that's growing ridiculously fast is the business creators. So we've got like a B2B business creator side of our business. So we've got people like Amma Hill, who was the founder of Plant Made. She's a business creator. We've got Lottie White, who manages so she founded MyoMaster, which is actually just been announced as one of the fastest growing businesses again. I think it's like second or third time in a row. The Times was announced yesterday. So yeah, she's great. We've got Olivia Jenkins, who also one of the fastest growing businesses. She runs D. Louise.
Okay.
And another fastest growing business, Simi from Simmer Eats.
Oh yeah.
So his new.
I
but
see
we-
you, man.
Yeah.
Man, you got some. I can't lie, man.
I
You got
know,
some
boy.
great founders, man.
Yeah, we've got some great founders.
Stable, strong.
Yeah. And so I had a very fun call yesterday of a massive new talent who's joining us. So
Ooh.
that side of the business is growing really, really quickly, and that I'm very excited about that side of the business.
It's not us, that business creator / influencer. Excuse my naivety, but it seems like a new lane
Yeah.
of tightening of influence. How do you define that? If you just want to give it
Yeah.
a bit of a
It is
definition.
so. Firstly, it is new, right? But it's been coming. So I think 4 years ago, I wrote an article about B2B creators and like how important they are. But I think the reason why I could see it coming is because I came from a corporate background. I was just like, really and truly, as salespeople, as people who work in corporate, people buy from people.
Yeah.
And so the decision makers are still people. And so if you put creators in this space to influence decision makers, it just makes sense, right? So like business, B2B influencer marketing just makes sense. But I was talking about at a time when everyone thought I was crazy, like, or just no one cared. Literally no one cared. No one listened. But the difference, what a B2B creator is essentially somebody who has their audience are business decision makers. That's mainly who they speak to, like business owners or people who work in businesses who are decision makers. So they're like senior execs. They're the ones who sign off on budgets, that kind of thing. They could be like a marketing lead or a sales director. If their audiences are made up of like marketing leads, sales directors, founders, those kind of people, then they are a B2B creator, essentially.
Okay, exciting.
Yeah. Even just continue on the B2B career. So Amma Hill, that's one of the first ones that I definitely saw.
Yeah,
with
she was our
Rasta.
first. She was our first
Oh, she
business
was-
creator signing.
Okay, so tell us about how that developed, her joining, and what has been your strategy as well for the past couple of months, because she's been everywhere. I was speaking to you about, I saw a ad that she done with Zero. I saw her locked up in a prison costume, super creative.
She's so creative.
Yeah, like,
she's amazing.
tell us how that kind of developed, because it was good to like understand like a case study of someone that you've worked with. Yeah.
Because of the background of me speaking about B2B influencer marketing, we have a mutual contact. So this mutual contact basically connected us and said, like, you should work together. Yeah. And so that's the thing about community. That's the thing about, having your people, because they can see things and bring things together. So, so he introduced us to each other and we were working together. And at first it was slow. And this is the thing that I think creators need to understand, yeah? Because I even had a conversation with someone yesterday who was kind of getting on to me about it being slow.
Flow,
yeah, but it's like, for the first few months, it is slow. You have to kind of put word out into the market that you're managing this person. Sometimes you have to change their strategy. It takes a while for that to kind of fall through. Sometimes, like, the ways they were doing things before wasn't working. So, and you've got to test and learn, you've got to iterate, right? So it's not, it's not a magic button to just have a manager and now it's just all going to be amazing. It takes a while. So with Amma, it was slow, because also I'd never managed a business creator before. So the first 3 months or so, nothing really was happening, right? Then we really sat down and looked at the strategy. And what's great about Amma and what I love about working with business creators, not just business creators, but they all have this thing. They're very involved in their strategy, because for them to have built multi-million-pound businesses, they understand audience. They understand how to speak to audience. And a lot of these businesses are D2C, so they've used social media already to sell their products. So they understand how to activate on social media. So Amma being one of them, right? So our strategy, some of our talent, we make the strategy for them. She was very involved in her strategy. We worked together as a partnership. And when we knuckled down what that strategy was going to be, and she trusted me. This is the thing. And she trusted that I was working in her best interest. And she was open-minded to my suggestions. And I think some of the best people understand what their zone of genius is, and they let you operate in yours. And so she knew what her zone of genius was, and she knew what mine was. And she trusted that I was operating in mine and she was operating in hers. And that was just like a match made in heaven. And when we got to that point, the floodgates opened. Yeah. So it was working together on her strategy, and then it was implementing things. And one thing about Amma is she listens. And she listens and she follows instructions and she does the stuff.
Two ears, one mouth.
Exactly. She does the stuff that is asked of her. honestly. And she holds herself to a high standard, and she treats her personal brand like a business. So there's KPIs, there's targets, there's iterating, there's testing, there's A/B testing, there's all sorts, right? And she's ensuring that she understands her business of being a creator. So
before we kind of like go into the home straight around kind of like really deep and dive into, I guess, key takeaways and your journey of mentorship and how you want to speak to it. When you look at, I guess, 112 and I guess the cultural influence and marketing space more broadly, what's one of the things that's got you excited for, I guess, the rest of this year and perhaps beyond?
I think it is that B2B influencer marketing, right? Like, I think that we've got a head start on it.
Okay.
And I'm feeling good about that. I probably shouldn't say that because... But yeah, I think that in the UK, we've got a head start on it.
On it, yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm...
No cap, man. That lineup that you said, I've seen a few of them, that the private companies list that came out yesterday, innit? Yeah.
A few of them are, like, we've got 3 on there currently, and we've had 4 on there before. Like, you know, like in total, we've got 4 who've been on there.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and we're not even speaking about the people who were signed, like, we're just about to sign. You know, I can't say who those people are,
Yeah, of
but
course.
that
When
number,
it comes
that
out,
number
you'll
would
see.
be more,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, I'm feeling really, really excited about the business creators. I've just hired a new person to help build out that division because I really see it as a massive growth driver for us this year. And I think where we have the competitive advantage, why I'm so happy about it, is that not only do we work by managing business creators, but we also do influencer marketing campaigns on the B2B side. And we've been doing it for the last 3 years. So we've worked with insurance firms. We've worked with 3 insurance firms now, business insurance firms, on doing their influencer marketing. We've worked with tech companies on doing their influencer marketing for them. So yeah, we've got solid case studies on that side, plus we've got the talent on this side. So it's kind of like we're just wrapping up that space and we're just going to keep on going with it.
Even just quickly on that, so that's so interesting that you said insurance companies, because maybe people might see cultural marketing, insurance.
Yeah.
How did those clients come about? This is me just being so nosy.
Yeah. So do you know what? So I always, because I did a webinar series a couple of years ago, right? Where I was like, if you think influencer marketing is not for you, come to this webinar series. Like, come and I will teach you that it is for you. And so we got lots of like insurance companies, all these like weird like pet companies, all these just the most random. We got like building companies coming to our webinars being like, okay, prove me wrong. Prove to me that influencer marketing is for us. And in proving to them it is for them, we then onboarded them as clients. And so that was that's kind of how we got them on. But the cultural element is very important to it because they get excited. Okay, B2B marketing can be a little bit dry. So when we tell them, oh yeah, we do stuff with Arsenal. Oh yeah, we do stuff with Shivers Regal. Oh yeah, we do stuff. They're like, we want a bit of that sauce in our campaigns.
Okay.
And so the cultural part actually does align because we do ensure that the campaigns are still, when we talk about culture, it doesn't always have to be one type of culture. Culture can be popular culture, it can be, and there's certain trends and cultural parts in B2B, like in the marketing space or in the banking space. There are still trends, there are things happening, right? And so we just apply the same cultural lens that we would on the cooler projects, the sexier things,
and to extract it into this space
and put it into that space, and then they get so excited about it because they can go back to their stakeholders and say, we're doing something really cool. We've got this really cool celebrity now working for our dry B2B brand. That's exciting for everyone.
Of course.
Yeah, so that's how we do it.
Okay, so you now work with business to business creators. For any founders, C-suite executives that, like, I see a lot of people that I follow on LinkedIn that I really love their insights and stuff like that, that want to kind of transition into that phase. What are some things that you would advise for them how to make that shift? Because obviously you've worked with quite a few people, and again, even yourself that I want to get onto. You've even done some bits as well with it. So like, small. So yeah, exactly. Oh, you speak on it, but yeah. So what are some things that you would advise on how to make that switch and transition as a B2B creator?
I would say create. A lot of the business creators, right? They sometimes have a bit of a hookup, like they're a bit scared because it's like, will I be taken professionally? I'm now making TikToks, you know? So firstly, I would say like, be brave. And it is worth it. I would say have a strategy and understand who you're speaking to. Because actually, who you think you're speaking to at first may not be who you're actually going to be speaking, like who you should be speaking to. So I've had a few times where I've done strategy sessions where like a creator is adamant they should be speaking to this audience, but but actually that's not the audience who engage. And so it's kind of working out who you're actually speaking to, like who your audience are, what the messaging should be, and then have a cadence. So understand on your different platforms what you're going to be posting, because actually different platforms require different things. So for example, like your Substack, or if you have like create a Substack or like a longer form thing like a YouTube, where that shows like your expertise, that gives you that proof point that you are someone to be trusted. But then your short form content could show more of your personality and show your day in the life and that kind of thing. So kind of have a strategy around the different touch points and where your different audiences sit in and speak to them kind of where they are. I would say as well, don't get too hung up on like brand deals, because they will come. But I do think it is important, if you do want brand deals, to ensure that your strategy weaves in ways that brands can see how they can work with you. Because the thing is, I think a lot of people put content out and then they want brand deals and they're like, well, I've got 100K followers now, why am I not getting brand deals? It's like, well, your content doesn't speak to how you can work with brands. So yeah, it's important to kind of ensure that you weave that into your strategy, like how you're going to, or if you want speaking opportunities, have you got your keynote topics? If you've got like 3 keynote topics that you want to be known for, how are you consistently saying those things in all of your content so you're known for something? So yeah, really have a strategy around it. Don't just kind of, I know people say, and you know, people say online, like just put stuff out there, and that is great. But I think if you're a business creator, a professional creator, you do have to have some kind of strategy.
Well, super insightful. And I guess that probably segues into the strategy around yourself and what you've obviously fallen into with regards to being somewhat of a business creator yourself.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a small C on that creator. But so what I found was that, and this is not to go too deep into things, but I've found to that point of that publishing company saying, for example, that, oh, when we have Black campaigns, we'll reach out to you. I think that sometimes, I don't know if you guys find this as well, you have to prove yourself a bit more than most. And it's not kind of a woe is me story, but it's kind of like, as a Black woman, I don't think I'm taken as seriously sometimes as if I didn't look like this, right? And so I feel it's very important for me to constantly show that I'm credible, constantly show, and not just my business, but actually me as the founder, like I am credible, I know my stuff, like I'm good at my job, right? And so the way that I was, and also to drive new business and leads for the company, right? So the way that I was doing that is speaking opportunities. But the way that I got those speaking opportunities was by posting on LinkedIn. Or the way that leads would come in sometimes would be through my personal LinkedIn. And so when I started posting more on LinkedIn, it wasn't for it wasn't because I wanted to be a creator. It was because I wanted leads for my business.
Okay.
And I wanted speaking opportunities so I could get more leads for my
Your
business.
business.
Because whenever I go on a stage, I get at least one lead for the business, right? So it's like, well,
It's like
it's a new business driver. That's all I was posting on LinkedIn for. I had no intention to be a creator or anything like that. Obviously, my followers were kept on growing because the content was consistent. And I suppose I do have a strategy around my content as well. So I speak about being a founder and also like insights around influencer marketing. Those are kind of like my 2 things. So yeah, that's kind of how it happened. And then when I got approached for my first brand deal, it was a natural thing, because I'd met a lady who was the influencer marketing manager at a tech brand who we already use. So when she said, oh, I work for X brand, I was like, oh my gosh, I love X brand. And then she was like, oh, like I'm recruiting new influencers. Like, what's your reach on LinkedIn? So when I told her my follower account, she's like, you are perfect. So that's so it was a very genuine,
organic,
properly organic first partnership. And then off the back of that partnership, I think then they kind of started to come in a bit more.
Speaks to what you just said as well before about putting out content that brands could easily fit and weave into. And obviously you actually, again, the best one is always when you're using the product anyway, and it's the most authentic one in it, so you can really speak to it. Yeah.
So like coming to the kind of like home stretch of our conversation, I'm keen to kind of assess and probably extract some of your like key takeaways that can hopefully be applied to the listeners and the viewers, and how they can obviously bring that into their own like individual careers and personal lanes. The founder's story, I think, is always something that is always admired from afar, and I think everyone likes it. They're like saying, "I'm the founder of this." What are some of the hard truths and the hard lessons you feel like people also need to recognize that? Yeah, it sounds great and it can look great, but it also comes with this at the same time. What was some of those I didn't know until I faced it situations, perhaps?
Yeah, I would say one of them is really understanding your numbers. I was just treating my numbers like anything, and cash flow, and with more money comes more responsibility.
Mhm.
And I think that that is something people should think about. Just because you're making more money doesn't mean like I'm not swimming in it, right? Like, I'm not balling all of a sudden,
Yeah.
because my costs have gone up. My ambitions have gone up, which means that I'm reinvesting more into the company. So, I think being realistic about what you actually take home when you run a business, and also what cash flow actually looks like, is something that I had to learn. I thought that I would be making more money personally by now in this part of the journey, and I realized actually that I don't think in running a business is how I'm going to get rich. I think it's in some other exit, how I'm actually going to get rich. That's something that when I first started the business, I didn't think that was the case.
Yeah.
But now in the business and understanding the world of this industry a bit more, I'm like, okay, I get that now.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that was an eye opener that this thing is probably not going to be forever.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing as well is, I think to the point we spoke about earlier around being a parent and the trade-offs that you have to do. Like, there are genuine trade-offs. There are times where, like, for example, my daughter's got, like, she's moving into year 3, and they've got like a coffee morning to tell us all about like what it's going to be. And I go to all of my daughter's things, and I'm going to miss it because I'm in Cannes. And so that was like, when I saw the date, it was like heart-wrenching. Like, I'm not going to be there for my daughter's thing. And so the trade-offs of being a parent and not always being able to be there at like those key moments, I think is something that I've had to come to terms with. I thought that running my business meant I'd be completely flexible and I could always be there for her. But in actual fact, a lot of things pull me away from her, probably more so sometimes than a traditional job.
Yeah.
Because, so that's something that I've had to kind of learn. Is that enough or do you want more?
No, that's a lot. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, one thing I wanted to speak on is that whole cash flow
Yes.
Conversation, because especially in our industry, obviously the payment terms are a bit crazy.
Yeah.
How have you managed that throughout your journey? Because I feel like it's one of the most important things, especially for agency owners, to understand how to navigate and put structures in place that doesn't hamper you. Where, again, because I've heard like horror stories of talent not getting paid because obviously you're trying to pay this and that. So what are some kind of like structures?
Yeah, so there was no structure at first, and it was a joke when we first. But one thing that I'm always very clear on is our talent get paid. Like, talent get paid.
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't care.
First.
Talent get paid, right? So we don't do any moving around money no, talent get paid. So what was happening is, in the early days, when it was like the 60-day payment terms, but I always want our talent to get paid to 30 days. Like, all our contracts are 30 days. We don't pay later than that. So I was like, okay, I'm in a conundrum because the brand's not paying us, but then I need to pay the talent who've been on this campaign. So there are times where I was using my personal money to pay the talent. Yeah. In the early days, because I was like, reputation matters.
Of course.
So it's very unwise. People don't do this. Like, never do it. But I was using my personal money to pay talent.
To cover the...
And then when the brand paid back, then I'd pay myself back, through the business. That's what we were doing at the start. Not the right way to do things. But as I got more confident, I was able to have more honest conversations with brands. And also, I've been advocating for this pay thing. So I did a piece with Campaign US last year. And it was a whole piece around how creator payments are so late. And the reason why, so systemically, because big brands have suppliers who are big and who can manage those long payment terms, that's just the payment terms they have. So they apply those payment terms to creators or smaller agencies, but we can't manage those payment terms. And so I was educating my clients and being like, I know that this is your system, but you're going to have to find a way around it. You're going to have to pay us the 30 days. Like, you're going to have to do something. And actually, currently, thank God, all of our creators, all of our brand partners, even if they pay to 60 days, their other suppliers, they pay us the 30 days because we've had that open conversation. Wow. And we've explained it. It's just because we've got to remember this whole thing of we're speaking to other humans. Yes, the procurement process is this, but if you can say, well, actually, you get paid your salary. I remember I had to send an email because this is where I had to go off on someone. But I was like, you get paid your salary every month and you wouldn't expect your salary to be late. How would you pay your mortgage, your rent, your anything? So these creators whose income is less regular, if they expect their payment to land on this date, they need their payment on this date. They need to pay nursery fees. They need to pay whatever they need to pay. It's unfair of you to make them wait 60 days and some. Yeah. When you've got paid your salary, how would you fare if you didn't get paid your salary? And so having those conversations, I don't like to have to take it there, but I'm always going to advocate for the creators to get paid. So if I have to take it there, I just have to take it there. And by taking it there, thankfully, we've now got all of our payment terms are great with our clients. it is a tricky one because you don't want to be seen as difficult, and then the client will be like, "Oh, I'll just go elsewhere." If that is the case, and there may be times where we won't be able to get through to a client, right? But there are other things you can use, like invoice factoring, and things like that, where you can. There are companies who will pay you if you've got like a valid invoice, so that that's coming. You've got a PO from the client. They will give you the money up front for that PO. So say the PO is worth 60k, they'll give you the money up front, or most of the money up front, maybe like 50k of it up front. Then they will chase the brand on your behalf, and then the brand will pay to the 60 days, but they take like a small percentage of that. And so that's something that smaller agencies are doing a lot more of.
A bit like a corporate loan shark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but the terms can be quite reasonable. You can also bake the terms you're paying for that. You could bake it into the costs to your client and stuff like that. But
that's super interesting.
Yeah, there are ways to get around it now. And I think there may be times where we would have to use that service because it's a shame that it has to be that way. But if you want to work with like an absolutely massive brand and there's no way you can change the way they do payments,
needs must,
you
right?
have to do something. Yeah.
Oh, super interesting.
That's why one
really
child is agency, of course.
No,
the gems,
super
the
insights,
playbook's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. I can't wait for it. Yeah.
Just as we wrap up, and I'm just keen. I think, what are some of your like go-to sources that kind of like keep you ticking? Like whether it's a particular book, another podcast. Where's your go-to to not switch off, but where do you pour back into your cup? And what are some of those? It could be something that's an activity, it could be something you're watching. Just keen to know what keeps you ticking.
One of the things that I like to do is Pilates. I do like mat and reformer Pilates.
Yeah.
And I recently qualified as a Pilates instructor.
Cool.
Although I don't have the time to ever teach, so I don't know what I'm doing with the qualification. I haven't actually taught since I've been qualified, not properly.
Hey, but get into the B2B creator content.
Yeah, exactly. But I think when I'm in my Pilates, that's the only time where I completely switch off because you focus on your breathing and you focus on ensuring that you're doing the moves so well, like that mind to muscle connection. Your brain can't think about anything else. And it's the only time, I know it's crazy, but like my daughter is always on my mind. It's the only time I don't think about her. I know it's crazy, right? But it's the only time I switch off from being like a mum, being a business owner, being a wife, being all the stuff. And I'm just present in that time. So Pilates, I would say, is that thing. And then I am massively into reading. I've always read, just believe in reading. I believe in self-development. I'm massive in self-development. It's so funny because, when you go on holiday, most people are reading like fiction and novels. I'm reading like a book that can make me better all the time, right? But I find that people are like, that's not relaxing. I'm like, it is for me.
Relaxing.
It's relaxing.
I agree.
So,
It also, I would say off the back of that, like given the nature of the conversation, Invisible Mentors as a platform, is there a book you'd recommend?
I would recommend The Psychology of Money.
My favorite. I would say that is my favorite finance book, and we've even spoke about it on the episode with my brother. That's the book that he read. It. That is incredible. Yeah, that book's incredible.
There's another one. Oh gosh, what is it? Habits, Atomic Habits. I'd recommend Atomic Habits. I think that's a great book. I'd say those are my two that I would recommend. There's another one, but I can't remember the name of it right now. So yeah.
Have you thought about putting a hand at producing a book of any form?
Do you know what's really funny? Someone reached out to me to write a book, and do you know what? I've always said I'm going to write a book.
Yeah.
So I do want to write a book.
Okay.
I actually do want to write a book, and
exclusive.
Yeah. First time ever that I mentioned that.
Now the outreach begins.
So I think I read Emma Greed's book recently. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk around that, and I see a lot of similarities in myself with her and her early journey as well. And so I think that, and it's to that point where we spoke about like where you come from and how much it affects or like it has an impact on where you go. And I do think that everyone's story is obviously unique, right? But I do think that if I really delved into like the truth around like my background, I kind of made mention of some of the difficult times I went through. I think the resilience and the things that it built, I think if thankfully, I don't know, like I feel that I think it's my Christian upbringing, but I have a very kind of positive outlook on things. I feel like I always have joy, even when things are hard. There's always joy in my heart, kind of thing, right? And I think that's always carried me through. And so I think if people have come from difficult backgrounds or difficult things in the past, if they can feel inspired by my journey to be like, you can go through stuff that are really bad, but actually you can use that. That can be your superpower. You can use that to spur you on, and you can achieve the things you want to. If I can share that story with other people and encourage other people, then I would love to do that in my book.
I'll be buying that.
Thank you.
I'm ready for
Okay,
it.
at least I've got 2 people.
Trust me.
100%.
Yeah,
When you're
I've got
ready,
2
we
cells.
can bring it back and we can discuss the book.
And
Yeah.
just speaking to, obviously, the name of this podcast, Invisible Mentors, I know Javan asked about it within the industry, but outside the industry, is there anyone, would you say, that's been like a mentor? And again, it could be an invisible mentor where you haven't actually met them, but just how they've moved, navigated, really spoken to you and helped you.
Yeah. This is a random one, but Deborah Meaden, she's...
Oh, yeah, Dragon's Den, right?
Dragon's Den, yeah. So when I was younger, when I was doing A-levels, I was studying economics and business. This is actually where the real bug for entrepreneurship came from. Also, actually, that just reminded me, my economics teacher, his name's Mr. Kersey, Mr. Robert Kersey. I've been trying to find him everywhere. I've been trying to Google him, everything. I want to find this guy because he was the one who put into me that I could be an entrepreneur. Like, he was the one who taught us, like, how to do business, how to do entrepreneurship. And he dropped that penny in my mind that I could do it. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be an entrepreneur today. Like, honestly. So he is, I would say, like, a massive invisible mentor.
Cool.
He was at that time. For the 2 years I was doing my A-levels, he's like a massive part of my journey.
What was it specifically that he said? Because that's like really profound.
It was
like,
it's super profound. It was the fact that he broke it down so simply, and it was like he used to get us to do these activities where we were doing business plans, and like we would come up with, like, you know, fake products and stuff, but we were actually putting ourselves in a position of being business owners. And he just taught it in such a way that was so interesting, and it was just like a light bulb moment. I was like, I want to do this. So I would say he, Mr. Kersey, but then also Deborah Meaden. And the reason why it's Deborah Meaden is because at that same time, when I was looking for women entrepreneurs off the back of studying economics and business, she was one of the only people I could find at the time. And so, but I liked her fierceness. I liked her resilience. And I like, you know, people say that, you know, sometimes, like, you know, more like feminine characteristics means that we are less, like, we don't ask for what we want, we don't really go for what we want, and that kind of thing. She absolutely went for everything she wanted. She was so self-assured, and I found that to be really interesting. And so, yeah, Deborah Meaden was invisible, especially in the earlier days.
Well, Hannah, thank you very much for joining us. It's been an
Thanks for
absolute
having
pleasure
me.
having a conversation, understanding the journey, and you've been our invisible mentor.
Yeah. Where can people find you?
So LinkedIn is my primary kind of place. I'm very active on there and reply to DMs on there a lot. So my LinkedIn is just Hannah Campbell. And my Instagram, which I am going to start growing because it's now going to be my personal brand page, is Hannah X Alicia.
Okay. Perfect.
Cool.
Hey, Hannah, it's been absolute pleasure speaking to you. Learned so much. I can't wait to do the playbook.
I know, boy.
And
There's
Hannah,
a few gems coming off the back of this one.
Yeah, no, definitely. But thank you so much for jumping on.
No, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Pleasure.
thank you.